Good evening. You're watching News Night. Yet another edition. We are back with it here on Times Now World. Today, our focus story is the war of words over Cyclone Fani, the political storm, if you will, over Cyclone Fani and its aftermath. And the protagonists are three very important leaders. Mamata Banerjee, the Bengal Chief Minister, Odisha's Chief Minister Naveen Patnaik, and trying to coordinate politically and otherwise with these two individuals is the Prime Minister Narendra Modi. A vastly different equation, vastly different optics as far as the Prime Minister and the Chief Minister of Odisha is concerned. If you contrast that with the equation currently enjoyed by the Prime Minister and the Chief Minister of Bengal, you see some bitterness, you see some rancor there. Today, Mamata Banerjee even went to the extent of saying that Narendra Modi is not my Prime Minister. What exactly is the reason for the bitterness? It is just because there is a high-octane, high-level contest between the BJP and the TMC in West Bengal. Is the bitterness, the rancor because of that? Is it because the stakes are impossibly high for the BJP and TMC in Bengal? And what is the reason as to why there is politics being played out over Cyclone Fani, a natural disaster that ideally should have been dealt with a coordinated effort from the centre and the state? We saw a bit of that in Odisha, where the Prime Minister, in fact, shared the stage as well as made a statement with Naveen Patnaik, the Odisha Chief Minister, who is not really an overt supporter of Prime Minister Modi. But we did not see that at all with the Prime Minister's equation with Mamata Banerjee and in the statements of Mamata Banerjee herself. Then there is, of course, the entire thing about the Prime Minister claiming that he tried to contact Mamata Banerjee in terms of getting relief to her after Cyclone Fani and she not receiving his call. That came the reply from the TMC that we are not your servants, that we will remain as your beck and call. We'll discuss all of that and also perhaps the angle where the Odisha Chief Minister is less reticent about sharing a stage with Prime Minister Modi or perhaps even working or willing to work with the Prime Minister, who is, remember, his chief political opponent in his own state of Odisha. We'll take a look at some reactions currently on this story. We'll come back to our guests and I'll introduce them after. Neha Joshi joins me tonight on Newsnight. She's the leader of the BJP. Also with us is Sucharita Mohanty, senior journalist and also part of Citizens of Orissa. And Dipankar De completes the panel. He's a TMC supporter. He joins us from Kolkata. Thank you for joining us. First to you, Dipankar De. There's so much being said about Mamata Banerjee's reluctance, as the Prime Minister calls it, to call him back, to coordinate efforts, about his efforts really to help West Bengal with the aftermath of Cyclone Fani. The Prime Minister says one thing, the TMC comes up with another. Who are the citizens of this country and indeed the citizens of Bengal supposed to believe, the Prime Minister or the Chief Minister?
3 points have to be made very clearly. First, on that very day, she was away from Calcutta and she was managing the control room, cyclone control room in Kharagpur. Obviously, she was very Hello?
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, she was very busy over there. This is number one. Second point is, you see, if you see the last 5 years record of the Prime Minister's visit to Bengal and the kind of assistance the central government under his leadership has extended to Bengal during different floods and cyclones we have faced during last 5 years, the assistance from the Prime Minister's office or central government was zero. Suddenly this time, when Fani fortunately did not create that kind of damage in Bengal, Prime Minister decided to create politics and take advantage of during this kind of political milieu and started creating this kind of drama again, which probably...
So you're saying he's doing this for a photo opportunity?
At this stage.
Okay, your point is that the Prime Minister is doing this for a photo opportunity. I would like Neha Joshi to respond to that allegation. And also, Neha...
Absolutely. During last 5 years, see the records, how many times he has visited Bengal and how many times he has visited during last 2 months.
Okay. Now let Neha respond.
The record will suggest what is the situation there.
Let Neha respond to this. And I have a question of my own for Neha. Okay, one second. Dipankar ji, 1 second. Give me a second here, please. Neha Joshi, the argument coming in from the TMC is this is a photo opportunity for the Prime Minister. The stakes are impossibly high in West Bengal, and the Prime Minister is targeting Mamata Banerjee because he doesn't want any kind of verdict, a sweep verdict for the TMC. So he's trying to somehow sabotage the TMC support base there as well. Do you, first of all, believe that's the case? And also, do you also believe that despite the kind of optics we saw with Naveen Patnaik and the Prime Minister, that kind of optics are not possible in West Bengal because there is much rancor and bitterness because the Prime Minister sees Mamata Banerjee perhaps as a potential threat in a post-poll scenario, not so much Naveen Patnaik.
Thank you, Athar. Thanks for having me. I would request you to increase my audio a little bit. It's hard for me to hear anything, but I think I got most of your question. So first of all, you know, what is playing out in Bengal right now, I don't think we can look at it as an isolated incident. You know, we have to look at it in a light of, you know, what has been happening for the past couple of years, the kind of paranoia that Mamata Banerjee seems to have internalized and in fact passed on to her TMC cadre. So, you know, it started with Mamata Banerjee suggesting that the army was trying to stage a coup. Then she tried to ban Durga Puja, Ram Navami processions. Then there was this whole fiasco about, you know, the CBI trying to target her. And then, you know, she warned that there was going to be a bloodbath, a civil war. And now when she refuses to share dais with an expiry prime minister, these were her words today. But, you know, the way it's played out, she refuses to disconnect her politics from her administration, her duties as a CM of the state and the administration responsibilities that come with it. Narendra Modi ji was going to West Bengal as the Prime Minister of the country, not as a BJP neta. And I think we have to make that distinction. It was in that capacity that he was received by Mr. Naveen Patnaik. Mr. Dharmendra Pradhan from the BJP has leading the charge in Odisha, and you know, rescue and relief operations are being coordinated. But you know, there is that sense of paranoia, like I said, in Mamata Banerjee, and she's taken it too far, to the extent that even a natural disaster for her somehow becomes you know, an election issue, and she's trying to prevent
the allegation,
you know, aid from coming in.
Neha, how do you respond to the allegation that the Prime Minister's office, in fact the Prime Minister himself, wanted to take a meeting of the Chief Secretary in the absence of the Chief Minister? Now that would rile up any Chief Minister. That's not the way it's done.
You know, the allegations keep changing, Athar. All throughout the day, I've been hearing different allegations. First, there was an allegation that the Prime Minister allegedly called the governor of the state. Later, it was said that he could not get through the Chief Minister. That's why he spoke to the governor. The PMO clarified, saying that they tried to get in touch with Mamata Banerjee several times, but she had no time to spare. And she said nobody in the state had time for the Prime Minister, even though only 7 states were going to poll today. So, you know, this just seems like, you know, convenient explanations, when the real issue is that Mamata Banerjee has been spewing venom. When, you know, and if you look at Narendra Modi ji, you know, he has targeted her politically. She is a political opponent. But if you look at the language that he's used, he's called her a maximum of U-turn Didi or a speed breaker Didi. Apart from that, he's said nothing rude about her. Look at the kind of language she's using with the Prime Minister.
And I'll come to that later, Neha. Of course, about the 40 TMC MLAs, but I'll come to that later. I want to get Sucharita Mohanty in on the program currently. And the reason why I called you, Sucharita, because there's such a distinction, such a big contrast between what we saw with Naveen Patnaik and Prime Minister Modi and what we didn't get to see between Prime Minister Modi and Mamata Banerjee. Both states, Bengal and Odisha, were affected by cyclone Fani. Odisha much more so. West Bengal, I think, got away with the least damage out of all the 3 states, Andhra, Odisha and West Bengal. But do you think there's also a lot more at play? Those optics don't really lie. There's a lot more at stake, because whatever might happen post-poll, Naveen Patnaik's position as somebody who hasn't committed to any of the combinations, be it a BJP pro Congress or pro third front, do you think there is still room for Naveen Patnaik to work with the BJP if they need him afterwards? Is that why there is a better working relationship already between the BJP, the Prime Minister and Naveen Patnaik? What's your take on it?
No, Arthur, listen, this is really very unfortunate. At such a time when in Odisha, we have had such a bad disaster, natural disaster, and we are making politics over it. It's really unfortunate. So as a citizen of Puri, we know what we are going through, and it's so bad. We can't even think of any politics. Right now, the only appeal I can make to all our leaders, senior leaders, they should come together and help us out, all Odias, out of this mess. We are in such a bad situation, and we must declare this as a national disaster. First thing, we must declare this a national disaster. I don't want to talk about politics, because politics can be done over other things later. First thing is first, and the first thing is we need relief, restoration and reconstruction. We must focus on this. I don't know how politicians, other people, senior leaders are talking about other things, which is beyond like people's interest. In Odisha, people who have gone through it, who don't have a roof over their head, who don't get drinking water,
Well,
no
I completely
electricity.
agree with you, Sucharita.
Nothing is there.
But if I may ask you,
well, there is no connection.
if I may ask you, because Odisha was perhaps the most affected by the cyclone Fani, and you have in fact made very clear that this is no time for politics, and West Bengal, by most accounts, has not been hit as hard. Do you think that is what was in the back of Navin Patnaik's mind, that everything else can follow? Right now, I need the centre's help, and I should get any help I can get, whether it's a political rival, whether it's the Prime Minister, doesn't really matter. That is why he took the decision, invited the Prime Minister, shared the stage with him. Was that the thinking? Should Mamata Banerjee should have done the same thing, according to you?
See, it's Chief Minister is the head of the state, and for any Chief Minister at this point of a time, this is the need of the hour, to look after the people, to do other things, relief measures, whatever the state can do. Whatever any Chief Minister is the first job to do.
So did Mamata Banerjee err
you can do it later.
in not responding to the Prime Minister, as he claims, in your opinion, as somebody who's seen
I don't know. I really don't want to get into the politics.
Okay,
no, I don't
fair
want
enough.
to get into the politics. But as a Chief Minister, I feel the people come first for a Chief Minister.
Fair enough. Dipankar Dey, even though Sucharita won't say it and won't get into the politics right now, the feeling overall seems to be, at least on the BJP side, that Mamata Banerjee could have perhaps for a day or two left the politics out of it and worked with the Prime Minister despite the political differences to make sure whatever little damage has been done in Bengal.
Yeah, I get your point.
Yeah.
I get your point. If you have followed her properly during Foni, she was the first person who said that we are stopping all kind of campaigns and requested every politician from all the political parties to come together and fight the disaster if Foni really had stricken Bengal or Calcutta. So she was not doing politics during that phase. Absolutely, she was clear, and it was conveyed to each and everyone. And during those 48 hours, no one talked politics in Bengal. I personally request all of you not to bring in Odisha at this stage. Odisha has been devastated. All of us has got the responsibility to extend any kind of help to Odisha. It is not really the time for politics.
Absolutely, but what we're discussing here, of course, is the war of words over cyclone Fani. That shouldn't really happen. Whether it's coming from the Prime Minister or Mamata Banerjee is a source of distress for me personally. But I want to take a short break at this point. I want to take a short break. Neha, I'll come back to you. Give me a second here. I have to take a very short break right now. When we come back, we'll go to Neha and we'll go to Dipankar Dey as well. Please stay with us. We'll come back with more on Newsnight. Stay with us. The Prime Minister and Mamata Banerjee, both on different sides of the political spectrum. There's a lot of bitterness in the campaign in West Bengal, and that came through, shown through, in fact, today, where the Prime Minister said and leveled allegations against the West Bengal Chief Minister, suggesting that she never returned his calls. He was only trying to find out about the efforts mounted by the West Bengal state government to tackle the aftermath of Cyclone Fani. Let's just remember one thing. Cyclone Fani did affect Bengal as well, not as much as it did Odisha. But the politics over Cyclone Fani is what is distressing many people. Now, Neha Joshi, I want to ask you, if you can accuse Mamata Banerjee and the TMC of politicizing a natural disaster, and when the TMC comes right back and accuses the Prime Minister of political expediency, political photo opportunism, etc., how do you dissuade them? Because after all, when you said about the allegation the Prime Minister wanted to take a meeting with the Chief Secretary, which is not really done in the absence of the Chief Minister, and the Chief Secretary of the West Bengal state actually confirming that and claiming that they had things under control anyway, how would you respond to that? How would you respond to allegations that the Prime Minister is trying to make it political for his own political expediency?
You know, Athar, either Mamata Banerjee ji and the TMC spokespersons and netas, they have special powers that they can gauge the intentions of people. And even so, I mean, the Prime Minister, you can't take away from the fact that the Prime Minister has as much responsibility towards West Bengal as he did towards Orissa. So as the Prime Minister of the country, he felt that it was reasonable if he was going to Orissa to also pay a visit to West Bengal, take a stock of what has happened there, what people need. I don't see anything wrong with that. Just because it's election season, it doesn't stop him from being the Prime Minister of the country, just as Mamata Banerjee is still the Chief Minister of West Bengal and has to dispense her duties as the Chief Minister. So I think, you know, there are times, you know, even when the elections are going on, the country still continues to function. And when a disaster of the scale of Cyclone Phony hits us, we have to keep humanity, we have to keep government, we have to keep these functions above petty politics.
And
that's what Narendra Modi was trying to do.
Not do her
I
duty
don't
there,
see how anybody can fault the Prime Minister from doing what he should be doing at any other time.
And you're saying Mamata Banerjee kind of shrugged that duty off? Is that your contention?
Athar, you know, I don't know where to start and end when I talk about Mamata Didi, because I think there is a deep-rooted fear in her that she's now projecting onto everything. Every other day she's hurling abuses at Prime Minister. She claims that she's sending what stone Roshagullas or something to him. So, you know, each statement more incredible than the other. I think it's now I think she's gone a little too far. And whether or not the BJP answers or the government answers, I think the people are watching.
Okay,
that on one
Mr.
hand,
Day,
there's
answer that.
massive violence.
The criticism coming in for Mamata Banerjee is this.
On the other hand, when a disaster hits, she's stopping the Prime Minister from coming in. Why?
But also there's an explanation being proffered here, Neha, and I don't want to get into that in detail, but the explanation proffered was that Odisha bore the brunt of Cyclone Phony. West Bengal kind of escaped it. Some huts were blown off and not too many people died there. That's one explanation, but I don't want to get into details right now. Dipankar Day, the criticism here is that when Mamata Banerjee, an elected Chief Minister...
If you'd allow me 15 seconds...
Sure.
You know, Athar, if you just allow me a little bit of time. So, you know, Mamata Banerjee, I'm watching her speak all day, and she's been claiming that I was in the eye of the storm, that I have been camping in Kharagpur, which was the most affected. In fact, you know, the reason that she's been campaigning there because the BJP president is contesting from there and offering a tough fight to TMC. So do you see how Mamata Banerjee is in fact keeping her politics above everything else,
but you know,
even
that's
today,
also,
while trying
Neha,
to say that she
that's also perhaps speculation. We don't know that for sure. You might want to say that, but I want to go to Mr. Day and ask him a simple question. Mr. Day,
absolutely agree with you. I did say that. That's what I've been hearing. And but it's as much speculation as saying that the Prime Minister is coming for a photo op. Don't you think so?
Okay, fair enough. Mr. Day, the question is simple. When Neha Joshi says what she says, and we hear the West Bengal Chief Minister today, Mamata Didi, say that Prime Minister Modi is not my Prime Minister. Now, is that a statement an elected Chief Minister should be making? After all, unless the incumbent government is dethroned on the 23rd of May, Prime Minister Modi is still the Prime Minister.
I get your point. I just like to make 2 points here. First, for each and every position you hold, you have to earn that. Whether it is you have to earn that respect for the position you hold or the chair you hold, right? Do you think that Prime Minister of India is really holding that kind of respect? Is there any Prime Minister in India, in our record,
that is the most bizarre thing I've heard.
He
He's a democratically
yesterday against an ex-Prime Minister?
Nobody can take that away from him.
That low.
He earned it.
After
several years of hard work, this Chaiwala became a Prime Minister of the country. Nobody can take that away from him, not even you.
Let me finish. I have not disturbed you. You see, ma'am, I have not disturbed you when talking.
Let him finish, Neha. He didn't disturb you. Let him finish his point, please.
This is the culture you have developed. Let me complete my point, right? I have not interrupted. No, I have not interrupted. Which Prime Minister of India had made that kind of statement, and an ex-Prime Minister who has been assassinated? Who has been assassinated for the country? Do you subscribe to that kind of statement?
What wrong did he say? He called corrupt man corrupt. Last time I checked, stating a fact wasn't a crime.
Well, there are interpretations on that as well. The court had cleared him all corruption charges clearly, and the wordage used by the Prime Minister was perhaps taken. The Congress Party took exception to it, at least. I'm sorry, I'm out of time on this one. I would have loved to continue on this bitter fight in West Bengal, political expediency or whatever you want to call it right now. We do have very little time left, so I must thank Neha Joshi for joining me on my program News Night. Thank you for joining us, Deepankar Day and Sucharita. Thank you for your inputs as well. I'll take a short break right now. I've been Athar Khan. This is News Night. Thank you for watching.